2020, but we didn't get to it. So, what better time to start but now? I am going to go ahead and start sharing my screen. Okay. All right. So the history of Milwaukee parks is pretty interesting. I hope that it's not, it doesn't sound like a history lecture, but that you actually take something away from it and you might want to go out and start exploring your parks. Okay. So Milwaukee, the county of Milwaukee has the city of Milwaukee along with 19 adjoining suburbs and with a population of 945,726 people. In with those suburbs in the county, we have a total of 142 parks, 15 parkways, and 20 park venues. And this all sits on over 15,000 total acres of land. The timeline of the county parks, we want to go pre 1830. This is where we see indigenous people living on the land known as Milwaukee County. So the first recorded inhabitants were the Menominee, Fox, Makooten, Sauk, Potawatomi, Ojibwa, and Ho Chunk tribes. Lake Park remains the only site in the county with intact Native American burial mounds. The 1833 Treaty of Chicago saw the Potawatomi tribe cede their land to the US government, which enabled white settlers to purchase land. So, going to the 1830s and 40s, European settlers began designating land for what would become the city of Milwaukee. With this, public spaces began to pop up around Milwaukee. And an interesting fact, in 1842, abolitionist Deacon Samuel Brown aided Caroline Quarles in the escape for slavery. His homestead would become an important stop on the Underground Railroad. In the 1850s, German immigrants began bringing their traditions of brewing and beer gardens to the city. By 1856, there were more than 2 dozen breweries. These included Pabst, Miller, Schiltz, and Blatz, with breweries' private beer gardens beginning to open. Quinton's Park, which became Schlitz Park and now known as Carver Park, Blatz Park, which is now Pleasant Valley Park, and Pabst Park, which is now Rose Park. In the pictures you see here is one of for the Pabst Brewery for the 1850s, and then to the left is the Miller's Brewery that was established in the 1850s. In the 1870s, the city of Milwaukee did start taking on a took on a new reputation as being rowdy. And in response to the private beer gardens and entertainment venues, the city of Milwaukee forms the Milwaukee Park Commission in 1900. So, with this purchase, they began to develop land for public parks. The first purchase is Lake Park in 1890, River Park, known as Riverside Park, South Park, which is now Humboldt Park, and the 1891 West Park, which is now Washington Park, and North Park, which is Sherman Park, were added. The commission hires the firm of Frederick Law Olmsted to develop Lake, River, and West Parks. With the construction of Mitchell Park, this presents the first horticulture conservatory in 1898. So, just going over more of the information I just shared. So, I also wanted to just highlight some of the parks. I highlighted Washington Park because I'm a little biased since I work there. The Washington Park is bordered by Lloyd Street, Lisbon, and North 40th Street. And in 1891, the Milwaukee Park Commission allocated and purchased 124 acres on the near west side, and work began in 1892. Washington Park was designed by Olmsted as a designation. It was developed after being cleared for farming, and 4,000 trees were planted within the first year. It became entrusted later to the Milwaukee County Park Commission in 1932. West Park received its new name as Washington Park in 1900 under a new philosophy where history was starting to make a big come up. So a few of the parks that were established as directional parks got new names. And it also, Washington Park is the former home of the Milwaukee County Zoo. They recently opened a senior center in 1968 and is currently the home of the Urban Ecology Center satellite campus, which opened in 2007. So here's some pictures of what's all included within the park. And a fun fact, this statue that you see is actually General Baron Frederick von Steuben, a Parisian-born soldier who served in the U.S. during the Revolutionary War. He was introduced to General Washington as he retired from the Persian army and left the command of the prince who he was serving under. By 1780, he was a major and helped participate in the siege of Yorktown in 1781, where the British were defeated. And sharing another park is Humboldt. It opened to the public in 1891. The original 45 acres that came with the park were originally fenced in. Extensive construction occurred in 1893, with a lagoon being excavated, a boathouse being built, and a road paved through the park from Howell Avenue to Logan Avenue. In 1900, the park was renamed in honor of Friedrich Wilhelm Heinrich Alexander von Humboldt, a Persian geographer and naturalist who did extensive work on botanical geography. The original boathouse was replaced in 1910 with a larger two-story pavilion. A World War I memorial was created west of the Lily Pond and dedicated in 1921 to honor the soldiers who fought in World War I from 1917 to 1918. An additional land was acquired in 1922, which brought the park up to its current 71 acres. In 1975, the original bandstand was destroyed by fire, and the new Swiss Chalet bandstand was built 2 years later. And here's a few more pictures to just show you what Humboldt Park has to offer, with the original bandstand to the lower left and the new one to the bottom right. In the 1900s, we saw the start of a 9-hole golf course added to Lake Park. We began to see playgrounds being added to local parks, and the Milwaukee Socialist Party formed the Milwaukee County Park Commission, led by Charles Whitnell. First land includes County Park, which is now Grant Park, and Shoals Park, and the Washington Park Zoo is beginning to grow. In 1910, land owned by the Milwaukee Public Works, including Juneau and McKinley Park, get added to the Milwaukee Park Commission. A 9-hole golf course opens at Evergreen Park, which is now Lincoln Park. And in 1919, Milwaukee County Parks Commission creates the region's first airport, which is now Curry Park. So I also wanted to highlight Esther Brook Park. And some interesting information is, before it became a park, it was actually the home of the Milwaukee Cement Company. This happened after J.R. Bethlet discovered mineral deposits that were made of limestone with heavy clay, matching it to make a natural hydraulic cement. But due to Portland cement, which was a cheaper alternative, the MCC suspended production in 1911, and the mills were burned and the kilns destroyed, and the 350 acres of land that it was on was put up for sale. The park ended up being sold, and it was named after Charles E. Estabrook, who grew up in Southwest Wisconsin near the Dranesville area. He served on the Milwaukee County Parks Commission until he died in 1918. In 1916, the park was established with 83 acres being acquired. Further acquisitions occurred up until 1931. In 1931 to 1932, relief workers constructed a lagoon and built a bathing beach. But in 1941, the same beach was closed. The Civilian Conservation Corps established Esther Brook CC Camp in Lincoln Park from 1934 until 1937. The CC also cleared a 1,500-foot rock ledge on the river and constructed a dam. This dam eventually was removed in 2018 due to disrepair. Historically, there's never been a beer garden in Esterbrook Park, but the first beer garden in Milwaukee since Prohibition was established in 2012 at the Esterbrook Park. Moving on a little further into 1920, we see a few more golf courses being added, with a 9-hole golf course opening at Grant Park, which leads to golf courses being added to Greenfield Park in 1923, Brown Deer Park in 1929, and Whitnall Park in 1932. The airport is then converted to a golf course after it moves to Mitchell Field in 1926. Prohibition will eventually see the closure of the remaining beer gardens. And I also wanted to add a little bit of a picture gallery of a few of the beer gardens that were in existence around this time. I made sure to label them. So to the top left, we have the beer garden of Whitefish Bay. And to our top right, we have the Rose Hill Park. And at the bottom, we have the Schlitz Palm Garden beer garden. Moving on to the 1930s, after the Great Depression, the New Deal provides funding and workers to come through with Whitnall's Emerald Necklace. From 1933 until 1937, the Civilian Conservation Corps constructs miles of parkways, pavilions, shelters, bridge, bathhouses, and swimming pools. And in 1936, City Park Commission merges into the Milwaukee County Park Commission to save funds. And in 1938, Harold Morgan and a group of cyclists plot a by putting in a touring route for cyclists, which eventually becomes the Oak Leaf Trail. And this is just a picture of the Esterbrook Conservation Camp, as well as a few men who are helping to build out, do a little bit of the projects with the CCC. The 1940s and 50s start to see baseball come into Milwaukee. After World War II, the parks were used for housing returning veterans in their mobile homes. So those who are coming from World War II, having to need somewhere to live, the parks were open for them to be able to use mobile homes and able to plant roots. And in 1953, the Milwaukee County Stadium opens. When it opens, it's the first ballpark in the US to be financed with public funds. And in 1955, the stadium hosts the All-Star Game. And 2 years later, the Milwaukee Braves won their first World Series. So I have the picture of the 1950s champions, Milwaukee Braves. And this is the original picture, one of the original pictures or of the Milwaukee County Stadium. And in the 60s, we see the construction of the Mitchell Park Domes, the Wilson Recreation Center, different senior centers, like the one at Washington Park that I mentioned earlier, park pavilions, the King and Cuzco community centers, as well as the new site of the Milwaukee Zoo and the first bike trail. So with the Milwaukee County Zoo, it eventually outgrew itself at West Park, now Washington Park. So it found its new home in Brookfield. And land reclamation starts at the lakefront till it will become Veterans Park. So in the 1980s and 1990s, by the 1980s, the park system grew to 15,000 acres. But due to growing budget concerns, this resulted in the abolishment of the County Park Commission. This is replaced with the Department of Parks, Recreation, and Culture. Further budget cuts saw the closure of sites such as the Sunken Gardens at Mitchell Park, and in the 1990s, the 76 Bike Trail grows and is renamed the Oak Leaf Trail in 1996. In some more interesting news, the Brown Deer Golf Course went under a major overhaul, and in 1996, it hosted the Greater Milwaukee Open, and this is also where Tiger Woods made his professional debut. So a few highlights for the Veteran Park. We all recognize it as being the park on the lakefront. It was established during the 60s and 70s and is a part of the Oak Leaf Trail. It's a beautiful neighbor to the Milwaukee Art Museum, the Betty Brins Children's Museum and Discovery World, and it has a host of different things you can do as well. And it was built to honor those who have fought in the military, both men and women. And more pictures, just of the surroundings and everything that you can find at Veterans Park. And in the 2000s, still dealing with budget cuts and concerns, there are different closures of facilities, and the Milwaukee County Park System wins a national gold medal for excellence in the Park and Recreation Management Program in 2009, which is an accomplishment since the budget was so tight during this time. To be able to still win a national gold medal for having excellent parks, that's a great accomplishment. And also, as I mentioned earlier, during this time, the Esther Brook Beer Gardens opened in 2012, and this will lead to other beer gardens opening eventually as well. Also introduced our Cool Waters Water Park, the Schultz Aquatic Pools and Dog Parks that are added to the park system. Currently, with the pandemic, this has had a big impact on the park system, and the park system's budget saw the closure of multiple facilities. But with this, one highlight has been multiple parks were able to host fireworks for the 4th of July holiday in 2021. So, with the parks being closed during the pandemic, we're trying to see if maybe something like this program will help boost people to go back out and explore. And I just also wanted to share some fun things to do this summer. I also have a document that I can share with you along with the recording later this week or in a couple of days. But there's a ton of farmers markets. There's our kitchen and beer gardens, and there's fish fries and parents park at Washington Park. And this is a new program that starts from June 12th until September 11th. And also another program that I didn't add is also the Washington Park is having movie nights this summer. The first one is going to be July 9th at 8 o'clock from 8 to 10, and it's free for anyone who wants to come. And the movie that they're showing is going to be Aladdin, the live version. So you can just stop on by if you want to see a movie with family and just get out for a while. I kind of went through that a little quickly, but does anyone have any questions? Mary, are there any questions?
Yes, there is one question.
Okay.
Actually, we have two questions now. Um, Julie wants to know, does South Shore have their farmers market?
Let me see. I feel like I saw that one. Give me a second. Sorry. While I'm looking that one up, is there any other questions?
Yes,
Okay.
there is. Connor wants to know what your favorite park is.
I'm a little partial, but I would have to say that Esther Brook was my favorite park, especially since I'm on the north side, closer to it by Glendale. It's really beautiful. I haven't been to the beer garden. That's one thing that's on my list, though. So I need to figure out time to go over there. I was gonna do like a little photo shoot with some friends, but it hasn't worked out yet. So
I did find that it does seem to indicate that South Shore does have a farmer's market. Just looking to
mhm.
see if I can find what day. Oh, Saturdays from June 19th through October 30th from 8 a.m. until noon.
Thank you.
You are welcome. Katie has a question that she put in the chat. She wants to know if you can tell her more about Frederick Olmsted's park designs. And she
Yeah.
also wants to be reminded which ones he designed.
So with Olmsted, I actually have some information I can share on him. He was also behind the supervision of the creation for Central Park in New York. His idea was that parks were supposed to be this place where people can come and get out of the bustle of the city and just he said all the classes could come together and just have a place to hang out. Um, from what I did research on for Milwaukee, he pretty much was behind Washington Park. So I didn't see him have his handprints anywhere else. Mm. His original plan for Washington Park also included open meadows. He wanted to see a 7-acre lake, an aquatic garden, and he also wanted to have lily ponds, exotic fish, stone bridges, and walk paths. But due to the need of the community, his plan didn't go through. So the community needed more land than they were able to provide. And let's see, the civilian corps, those camps were mostly just Depression era. There's no record of them existing after the Great Depression with new works.
We have
And I
a,
can, oh,
oh,
sorry.
did you see the question?
Yeah. And I'm gonna get that information to you. Just give me 1 second. And are there any other questions on the list?
Yeah, we do have, Julie is wondering, or no, not Julie, Joan is wondering if Lake Park has golf lessons. And I was just trying to look that up. And I believe they do. I'm looking to see if they list a price. $50 for a 30-minute lesson, $200 for 5 lessons. That's for adults. And actually, it looks like you can have, they've got lessons dependent on various golf pros that you would work for. So the best thing to do would be to go to their website, and I will plug the link in right now. So depending on the pro that you sign up with, it depends what the price is. And then, did you get the question about the drawings?
The drawings? No.
Julie wanted to know where you got the drawings of the parks you featured. She says she's got a similar one that is an overall rendition of the entire system, but not for individual parks, and she loves them. And she wants to know if they can be purchased somewhere. She says they look like they would be postcards.
Okay. Let me double check to see exactly. Was it at the beginning of the presentation?
I don't know. I'm assuming so. They were really interesting drawings. I think, wasn't there one of the pavilion.
Tell me when I'm getting warm.
Actually, your screen isn't showing. It's showing the website right now.
Okay. That's not it either. Mm. Can you see the illustrations now?
Yes.
Okay. So should I go backwards or?
Well, I think she just wants to know where you got them from.
Okay. So a lot of a lot of the information that I got, once I did the reading on a few of the parks, I actually just wanted to go online. So I just did searches, typed in like beer gardens. And for the beginning of the presentation, like this picture, I just typed in Esterbrook Park and went through Google Images, and this one was really cute. And I like how it has a display of everything that's offered in the park. And more of these, I went to Humboldt Park Friends and I just did a search of everything that was popular in that park and just wanted to add them as a little collage. And this is from the Humboldt Friends website doing the history of Humboldt Park. So I pulled this as a picture because it looks lifelike, but it's also just the illustration. And for this one, I just went to the Milwaukee County Parks website and just wanted to get an idea how big the park system is. And the keys are really informative. I didn't know we had this many parks before I started the project.
We do have another question. Julie wants to know, are the Indian mounds at Lake Park hidden away deep within the park, or are they relatively easy to see?
From what I could see, pictures show that the mounds are available for people to see, so they're not hidden and they have a little plaque showing what they are. I don't see anything in the chat or see any questions. I kind of sped through that. I talk faster than I think I do. And like I mentioned, I do also want to kind of share what is available. I can also make this chart available to you in email, but these are just a few of the things that are going on in the parks right now. So Jackson Park has a farmers market that's running from June 10th until September 30th, and that's located 3500 West Forest Home Avenue. And there's also the South Shore Kitchen and Beer Garden, and the Vine at Humboldt has a beer garden as well. And as I mentioned, Washington Park Nights, which is going to start the 9th and the 23rd this month. And there's also running August 6th and 20th. And they run from 8 p.m. until 10 p.m. And since this will be a document I emailed to you, the link will be at live. So you can just go to the MilwaukeeCounty.gov and check out everything that's offered for the summer. It's always fun to learn. I'm kind of a history nerd, so this was right up my alley. Thank you, thank you. And if there are no more questions, I think we might be ending a little early, Mary. And again, thank you everyone for coming out tonight. And I hope that you took something cool away from it about the parks and might want to go out and visit a new one you haven't before.
Yeah, I see no more questions, and there are no questions in the chat. Just a lot of people thanking you for the program, which was very good.
Well, then, thank you, everyone, and you all have a good night.